Welcome to another dark tale from the frozen lands of Skyrim. I am your guide through the shadows. This video explores what really happens when someone becomes a vampire in Skyrim, beyond the game mechanics, and into the true horror of the transformation. They promise you power and immortality. They tell you stories about ancient bloodlines and dark nobility. But nobody warns you about waking up 3 days after infection with your wife's blood in your mouth and her dead eyes staring at nothing. Nobody tells you about the hunger that never stops, the isolation that never ends, or how you slowly watch yourself become the very monster you used to fear. This is a confession from a thin-blooded vampire, a diseased creature trapped between humanity and monstrosity, who wants you to understand the real cost before it is too late. This is what the legends do not tell you. This is the truth about vampirism in Skyrim. And if you genuinely enjoy this kind of dark storytelling, consider subscribing and liking the channel, but only if it truly resonates with you. I need to tell you something before it is too late, before the sun sets again, and I lose what little humanity I have left clinging to these bones. My name does not matter anymore. Names are for the living. I am something else now, something that watches you through your windows at night, something that remembers what warmth felt like. 3 months ago, I was a farmer. I had a wife named Hilda. We owned a small plot near Ivarstead, where we grew wheat and raised chickens. Simple people, simple lives. We went to bed tired every night and woke up grateful for another day. That version of me died in a cave. What came back wore his face for 3 days before it tore out his wife's throat. Let me start at the beginning, because the details matter. The details are everything. It was late frostfall when I found the entrance to Shriekwind Bastion. I was not looking for adventure. I was looking for our damn goat. The stupid animal had wandered off again, and Hildy was furious because we needed the milk. So I followed its tracks into the hills east of our farm, cursing the whole way. The tracks led to a crack in the mountainside, a dark mouth in the rock that breathed cold air like a dying man's last breath. I should have turned back. Every Nord with half a brain knows you do not go into unmarked caves alone, but I heard the goat bleeding inside. Just a few feet in, I told myself. Just grab the animal and leave. The cave went deeper than I thought. The passage twisted down into the mountain, lit by strange blue crystals growing from the walls. I found the goat 20 feet in. Its throat was torn open. The blood was still warm. That is when I heard the voice behind me. Soft, female, hungry. She moved faster than anything I had ever seen. One moment I was turning around. The next moment, her hand was on my throat, and her face was inches from mine. Her eyes were red, not brown or blue or green, like normal eyes, red like hot coals. Her skin was gray and pulled tight against her skull. When she smiled, I saw the fangs. I have fought bandits before. I have killed wolves and bears. But this thing, this woman who was not a woman anymore, she was different. She was toying with me, playing with her food. She said something in a language I did not understand. Then she raised her other hand, and I felt my life draining out of me, not bleeding out, draining, like she was drinking my soul through the air between us. My knees went weak. My vision went dark at the edges. I could feel my heart struggling to keep beating. I do not remember how I got away. I remember my hand finding a loose rock. I remember swinging it at her face. I remember running. I remember the sunlight at the cave entrance burning my eyes after so long in the dark. When I got home, Hilda screamed at me about the goat. I told her it was dead. I did not tell her about the woman in the cave. I did not tell her about the way my arm felt where she had grabbed me, like frostbite, like dead flesh. I should have gone to a temple immediately. I should have told Hilda everything, but I was embarrassed. I was a Nord man admitting some cave-dwelling monster had nearly killed me, felt like admitting weakness. So I stayed quiet. I washed the dirt off. I ate dinner. I went to bed next to my wife like nothing had happened. The next morning, I woke up feeling strange, not sick exactly, just off, like I was slightly disconnected from my own body. At sunrise, I felt a sharp pain in my head. A message appeared in my mind, clear as if someone had spoken it aloud. You feel strangely weakened by the sunrise. I ignored it. I had work to do. fields to tend. But all day, I felt the sun pressing down on me like a weight. My skin itched under the light. I kept to the shade as much as possible and told Hilda I might be coming down with something. That night, as the sun set, another message came. You feel a thirst come over you. Not thirst for water, not thirst for mead, a thirst that made my gums ache, a thirst that made me look at Hilda's neck while she was cooking dinner and feel my mouth water. I locked myself in the shed that night. I told Hildy I needed to fix some tools. Really, I needed to be away from her, away from the smell of her blood pumping just beneath her skin. I could hear it, you understand. I could hear every heartbeat in that house. Hilda's, the dogs, even the damn chickens outside. Each pulse was like a drum calling me to feed. I did not sleep that night. I sat in the shed with my hands clenched until my nails drew blood from my palms. The pain helped me focus, helped me remember I was still human. The second day was worse. The sunlight hurt, not just uncomfortable, actual pain, like tiny needles driving into every exposed inch of skin. I wore my hood up and kept my gloves on, even though Hilda thought I was being ridiculous. She asked if I was feeling all right. I lied and said I was fine, but I was not fine. I could see in the dark now. When I went to the privy in the middle of the night, I did not need a candle. Everything was clear as day, and the sounds, gods, the sounds. I could hear conversations in Ivarstead from our farm. I could hear the fish swimming in the river. I could hear Hilda's blood moving through her veins while she slept. The thirst grew stronger. It consumed my every thought. I started having fantasies about tearing into her neck with my teeth, about feeling her warm blood fill my mouth. These were not my thoughts. They could not be. I loved Hilda. I had loved her for 12 years, but something inside me was changing. Something was replacing love with hunger. On the third day, I knew I had to tell her. I could not keep this secret anymore. Whatever was happening to me, whatever that creature in the cave had done, I needed help. We would go to a temple together. We would find a cure. We would fix this. I never got the chance. That third night, I fell asleep next to her. I was so tired from fighting the thirst, from fighting the change, that my body just gave out. I thought I would wake up, and everything would be all right. I thought I would still be me. I was wrong. What do you think really happened here? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I would like to know if I am the only one who feels this way. I woke up in the middle of the night with Hildy's blood in my mouth. I was on top of her. My teeth were in her throat. She was not moving. Her eyes were open, staring at the ceiling, but she was not seeing anything anymore. The transformation had completed while I slept. The disease, Sanguinare Vampiris, had run its course. I was no longer human. I was a vampire, and my first meal had been my wife. I do not remember doing it. That is the horror of it. That is the thing that keeps me up during the days when I hide from the sun. I do not remember making the choice. The hunger made the choice for me. The new instincts overrode everything else, everything human. When I came to my senses, when I realized what I had done, I screamed. I pulled away from her. Her blood was all over my face, my hands, the bed. The room stank of iron and death. I had killed the only person who ever loved me. I had murdered my wife while she slept. I ran. I did not stop to clean up. I did not stop to bury her. I just ran out into the night, covered in her blood, with her death on my hands. The world looked different through vampire eyes. Everything was sharper, clearer. The night was not dark anymore. It was full of light I had never seen before. I could see the heat coming off animals in the forest. I could see the glow of distant fires in Riften. My body felt strong, stronger than it had ever been. I could run faster, jump higher. I felt powerful in a way I never had as a human. But none of that mattered because Hilda was dead, because I had killed her, because I was a monster now. I thought about walking into the sunrise, just standing there and letting the sun burn me away. But something stopped me. Instinct again. The same instinct that made me kill my wife now made me hide from the light. The vampire part of me wanted to survive. It did not care about guilt or grief or humanity. It only cared about feeding and surviving. So I hid in a cave during the day and tried to figure out what to do. I needed answers. I needed to understand what I had become, and I needed to know if there was any way to undo it. That is when I remembered stories I had heard, rumors about a castle in the far north, a place where vampires lived openly. Castle Volkihar, the seat of Lord Harkon and his court. If anyone would have answers, it would be them. The journey took weeks. I traveled only at night, hiding during the days in caves or abandoned buildings. The hunger was constant. It never stopped. Every person I passed on the road smelled like food. Every sleeping merchant in a roadside inn made my fangs ache. But I fought it. I fed on bandits instead, men who deserved to die. It helped a little. It quieted the hunger for a few days at a time, but it never went away completely. I also learned things about myself, about what I could do. I found I could drain the life from people at a distance, just like that vampire in Shriekwind Bastion had done to me. I could make people do what I wanted if I looked them in the eye and pushed with my will, and I could see in complete darkness, hear conversations from hundreds of feet away, and move with inhuman speed. But the cost was terrible. Sunlight weakened me, burned me. I could feel my powers draining away with each moment under the sun. Fire hurt worse than anything I had ever felt. And worst of all, the hunger never stopped. Not for a moment. Every second of every night, I was aware of the blood pumping through nearby veins. I was aware that I was a predator now, a monster wearing human skin. When I finally reached Castle Volkihar, I thought I would find answers. I thought I would find others like me, others who understood what it was like to lose yourself to the hunger. I was right about finding others, but I was wrong about everything else. The castle sits on an island in the Sea of Ghosts, surrounded by cold water and colder mist. Getting there required either a boat or swimming, and I am a Nord, so I chose swimming. The icy water should have killed me. It would have killed the human me, but the vampire me barely noticed. My body did not feel cold the way it used to. I did not feel much of anything anymore. The gates were guarded by death hounds, huge, skeletal creatures with red eyes and slavering jaws. They did not attack me. They just watched, sizing me up, deciding if I was worth killing. A vampire named Vingalmo met me at the entrance. He looked me up and down with obvious disgust, called me a thin blood, said I stank of fresh infection. He wanted to turn me away, but I begged. I told him I needed to speak to Lord Harkon. I told him I needed answers. He laughed, actually laughed in my face. He said Lord Harkon did not waste time with diseased cattle like me, but he would take me to see the Lord anyway, just to watch me grovel. The interior of Castle Volkihar is like stepping into a nightmare. The walls are black stone, damp with condensation. The air smells of blood and decay. In the main hall, 2 human cattle were laid out on tables, being fed upon by court vampires. The cattle were alive. They groaned and mumbled incoherently, while the vampires drank. Nobody seemed to care. It was just dinner. Lord Harkon sat on a throne at the far end of the hall. He is ancient, pure-blooded. He received his vampirism directly from Molag Bal, thousands of years ago, after sacrificing innocents in the Daedric prince's name. His family, his wife Valerica, and daughter Serana are the same, true vampires, not diseased half-breeds like me. He looked at me the way you might look at a particularly pathetic dog. With a mixture of pity and contempt, I asked him how to control the hunger, how to live with what I had become, how to make sure I never hurt anyone else the way I hurt Hilda. He smiled. It was not a kind smile. He told me the truth I had been dreading. There is no controlling it. Not for vampires like me, not for the diseased ones. The thin bloods, pure bloods like Harkon, can transform into vampire lords. Massive, winged creatures of immense power. They have control, they have discipline. They feed when they choose to feed, not when the hunger forces them. But vampires created by the disease, by Sanguinare Vampiris, are different. We are slaves to the hunger forever. We are animals pretending to be people. Every day that passes without feeding makes us more monstrous, more obvious. At stage 4 of hunger, we cannot hide anymore. People attack us on sight. We become feral. and feeding only resets the clock. It does not cure anything. It just makes us passable as human for a few more days until the hunger builds again. Harkon said vampires like me are useful only as cannon fodder, as distractions for vampire hunters, as cattle to thin bloods. What cattle are to them? He said the court views diseased vampires as mistakes, as failures, as things to be culled when they become inconvenient. If you have ever wondered what choice you would make in a situation like this, tell me in the comments. I will be reading them. I asked if there was a cure, some way to become human again. He said yes, but he said it like it was a joke. There is a mage in Morthal named Valian who can cure vampirism, but the process requires a black soul gem filled with a human soul. You have to murder someone, trap their soul in a gem, then perform a ritual that might or might not work. Even if I did that, even if I murdered an innocent person to cure myself, what would it change? Hilda would still be dead. I would still be a killer. Being human again would not absolve me of what I had done. So I left Castle Volkihar. The court vampires laughed as I walked out, called me thin blood and cattle, and worse, they were right. That is what I am. A diseased animal wearing human skin, trying desperately to remember what being human felt like. Now I wander Skyrim's nights. I avoid cities because the hunger is too strong around so many people. I avoid roads during the day because the sun burns. I feed on bandits when I can find them, criminals who would have died on an executioner's block anyway. It helps me pretend I am still human, still capable of making moral choices. But I know the truth. I am a monster. The hunger never stops. Every night, I spend more time thinking about feeding and less time thinking about Hilda. Every night, the human part of me gets smaller and the vampire part gets larger. Eventually, there will be nothing left but the hunger. I watch families through their windows sometimes. At night, when they think they are safe, I watch them eat dinner together. I watch them laugh. I watch them put their children to bed. I remember doing those things with Hildy. I remember being part of the world instead of a predator stalking its edges. The worst part is the isolation. I cannot tell anyone what I am. I cannot ask for help. Anyone who knew would either try to kill me or flee in terror, and they would be right to do so. I am dangerous. I am a walking threat to everyone around me. The fact that I am trying to control it does not change what I am capable of doing. Other vampires avoid me because I am thin-blooded. Humans avoid me because I look wrong now. My skin is too pale. My eyes are too red. People can tell something is not right about me, even if they do not know exactly what. I am caught between two worlds, belonging to neither. I have tried to find meaning in this existence, some purpose beyond just surviving and feeding. But what purpose is there for a monster? I cannot build anything, cannot create anything. I can only take, only consume, only destroy. The old me would have said there was always hope, always a chance for redemption. But that man died 3 days after he was infected. What is left is just shadows and hunger wearing his face. Sometimes I wonder if Molag Bal designed it this way on purpose. The Daedric prince of domination and enslavement, the creator of vampirism. Did he intend for diseased vampires to suffer like this? To be trapped between humanity and monstrosity with no escape? Is this his idea of entertainment? Lamai Bal, the first vampire, was created when Molag Bal defiled her and then left her to die. She rose from her funeral pyre and murdered the people trying to help her. Then she spent eternity spreading the curse to spite both Molag Bal and Arche, the god of life and death, who refused to help her. Every vampire in Tamriel traces their lineage back to that moment, back to that violation and that rage. We are all children of rape and murder, all descendants of the ultimate act of domination. Maybe it makes sense that we are cursed to dominate and murder in turn. Maybe there is no escaping what we are, because what we are is violence made flesh. Hunger made flesh, death made flesh. I am telling you this because you need to know. You need to understand what becoming a vampire really means. It is not power. It is not immortality. Those things exist, but they are not the core of it. The core of it is losing yourself piece by piece until nothing remains but hunger and darkness. If you ever encounter a vampire, kill it, even if it begs for mercy, even if it claims to be in control, even if it promises it only feeds on criminals. Kill it. Because I am telling you from experience, we are all one bad night away from tearing into an innocent person's throat. We are all one moment of weakness away from becoming the monsters everyone thinks we are. And if you are ever infected with Sanguinare Vampiris, go to a temple immediately. Get cured. Do not wait. Do not think you can control it. Do not believe you will be different. You will not be. The disease will take you, and when you wake up 3 days later with your loved one's blood in your mouth, it will be too late to take it back. I wish someone had told me these things before I went into that cave. I wish someone had explained what those red eyes meant, what that draining sensation meant, but nobody did, and now here I am. A cautionary tale, a warning. The sun will be rising soon. I can feel it. I need to find shelter before the light comes, but I wanted to get this down first. Wanted someone to know the truth about what happens when you become a vampire in Skyrim. The truth is not what the stories tell you. The truth is not romantic or powerful or eternal. The truth is losing everything that made you human and spending the rest of your cursed existence trying to remember what warmth felt like. The truth is watching your wife die by your own hand and knowing the truth is watching your wife die by your own hand and knowing you will never be forgiven, not by the gods, not by yourself, not by anyone. But I am getting ahead of myself. There is more you need to understand about how this works, about what the hierarchy really means. After I left Castle Volkihar, I spent weeks just wandering, no destination, no purpose. I was trying to process what Harkon had told me, that I was cursed to be a slave to the hunger forever, that there was no ascending to something better, no evolution into a more controlled state. I was stuck as this diseased half-thing for eternity unless someone killed me or I found the courage to walk into the sun. During those weeks, I encountered other vampires, the feral ones, the ones who had given up entirely on pretending to be human. They live in caves and ruins across Skyrim, hidden away from civilization. Some of them have thralls with them, humans they have broken mentally, turned into willing servants. The thralls are not vampires themselves. They are just humans who have been dominated so completely that they serve their vampire masters without question. They fight for them, die for them, and in return, the vampires feed on them whenever the hunger strikes. I met a vampire named Movarth in a cave near Morthal. He had been a famous vampire hunter once, years ago. He hunted the Volkihar clan specifically, learned everything about them, studied their weaknesses, and then he found one and tried to kill it. The vampire overpowered him instead, turned him, and Movarth became the thing he had spent his life hunting. He told me his story one night while we were both hiding from a vampire hunter patrol. He said the worst part was not losing his humanity. It was understanding, finally understanding why vampires do what they do. The hunger is not just desire, it is agony. Every moment without feeding is torture. The bloodlust builds and builds until it consumes every other thought, until you would do anything, betray anyone, kill anyone to make it stop. Pure bloods like Harkon do not feel it the same way we do. Their vampirism came directly from Molag Bal. They were granted power through ritual sacrifice. They have control because their transformation was intentional, was chosen. But diseased vampires like us, we caught it like you would catch rock joint or brain rot. We are infected, sick. Our bodies are fighting the vampirism even as it overtakes us, and that internal war creates the insatiable hunger. Movarth said he tried to fight it at first too, tried to only feed on criminals, but eventually the categories stopped mattering. Criminal, innocent, child, elder, they all became the same thing: blood, food, relief from the agony. He fed on a child 3 months after his turning, a little Nord boy who had wandered away from his parents at a market. Movarth said he still remembers the boy's name, still remembers his face, but he does not regret it because for those few minutes while he was feeding, the pain stopped, the hunger quieted, nothing else mattered. That is what we become. That is the endpoint for diseased vampires. We lose the ability to see people as people. They become objects, sources of relief, and we hate ourselves for it even as we do it, which somehow makes it worse. I asked Movarth why he did not just cure himself. Go to Phalion in Morthal, fill a black soul gem, end the curse. He laughed, said he had tried that, twice. The first time, he could not bring himself to kill someone to fill the gem, could not murder an innocent just to become human again, so he gave up. The second time, years later after he had already killed dozens, he decided the moral math did not matter anymore. He was already damned, so he killed a bandit, trapped the soul, and went to Phalion. The ritual worked. He became human again. He lasted 3 weeks before he deliberately got himself infected again. Because here is what no one tells you about curing vampirism. You remember everything. Every person you killed, every throat you tore out, every life you ended. As a vampire, the guilt is there, but it is distant, muted. The hunger drowns it out. But as a human, with human emotions fully restored, the guilt is overwhelming, crushing. Movarth said he could not sleep, could not eat, could not function. He was drowning in what he had done, so he went back to a vampire lair and let them infect him again. Chose to become a monster because being human with a monster's memories was worse than just being a monster. I think about that conversation a lot, about whether curing myself would actually help or just make everything worse, about whether I deserve to escape the curse or if living with it is my punishment for what I did to Hilde. The feeding is what haunts me most. Not just Hilda, though that is the worst of it, but the others too. I have fed on 17 people now. I keep count. I tell myself they were all bandits or criminals, but I am not sure that is true. I think some of them might have just been in the wrong place at the wrong time when the hunger became too strong to resist. There was a merchant on the road to Windhelm, traveling alone. I followed him for 3 days, telling myself I was just going to rob him, take his gold, and let him go. But when I finally cornered him in an abandoned shack where he had taken shelter from the rain, I smelled his blood, and the hunger took over. I drained him dry, left his corpse for the wolves. I do not know if he had a family, do not know if he was a good person or a bad one. I just know he is dead because I could not control myself. Because the vampire part of me is getting stronger and the human part is getting weaker. The stages of vampirism are predictable, mathematical. Every day without feeding moves you to the next stage. Stage 1, you can pass as human. Your skin is only slightly pale. Your eyes are only slightly red. People might think you look sick, but they will not immediately know what you are. Stage 2, the changes become more obvious. Your skin takes on a grayish tone. Your eyes glow faintly in the dark. People start to get uncomfortable around you, even if they cannot articulate why. Some will comment that you look ill. Others will just avoid you. Stage 3, you cannot hide it anymore. Your face becomes gaunt, skeletal. Your fangs are visible when you talk. Guards will question you. Citizens will flee, but you can still enter cities, can still interact with society if you are very careful. Stage 4, you are recognized as a vampire immediately. Everyone attacks you on sight. Guards, citizens, even beggars. You are forced to hide during the day and only emerge at night. Cannot trade with merchants, cannot enter cities. You become a true monster hunting in the wilderness. And the longer you stay at stage 4 without feeding, the more feral you become. I have seen vampires who stayed at stage 4 for months. They stopped talking, stopped thinking, just hunted and fed and slept. They became animals, lost everything that made them people. I have come close to that several times, gone weeks without feeding because I was trying to prove I could control it, trying to prove I was stronger than the hunger. Each time, I got closer to losing myself completely. The world would narrow to nothing but heartbeats and blood smell. I would start hunting without realizing I was doing it, following people, watching them, planning when to strike. The only thing that pulled me back each time was fear. Fear of becoming one of those feral things. Fear of losing the last shreds of my humanity. So, I would give in, feed on someone, anyone, and reset the cycle. Castle Volkihar haunts me, not because of what I saw there, but because of what it represented. Harkon and his court, they have solved the problem. They keep cattle, humans locked in cages, fed upon regularly, but kept alive. It is slavery. It is monstrous, but it is also stable, sustainable. The purebloods can feed whenever they want without killing, without hunting, without the constant risk of exposure. Thin bloods like me cannot do that. We do not have castles or thralls or cattle. We are lone predators, forced to hunt, forced to kill. And because we are diseased, because our vampirism is unstable, we can never achieve the power and control the purebloods have. Harkon made it clear, the Volkihar court views thin bloods as failures, as vermin. They occasionally cull us when we become too numerous or too conspicuous, send out hunting parties to clear out vampire dens near major cities. It is not about protecting humans, it is about protecting the court's secrecy, about maintaining their comfortable existence. The court feeds on humans, yes, but they do it quietly, carefully. They have systems in place. Thralls who procure victims, cattle who are kept hidden. Purebloods can walk through cities during the day with minimal discomfort, can maintain the pretense of nobility, of civilization. Meanwhile, diseased vampires like me are forced to live like animals, hiding in caves, feeding on whoever we can catch, getting killed by vampire hunters or mobs of angry citizens. We are disposable, worthless. The court would not lift a finger to help us because to them, we are not even real vampires. We are just infected cattle that need to be put down eventually. I learned all of this from Vingalmo during my visit to the castle. He seemed to take pleasure in explaining it, in making sure I understood exactly how far beneath him I was. He told me that in the old days, before the court went into hiding, they would host hunts. Purebloods would chase down thin bloods for sport, would make a game of it. He asked me if I knew what happens when a thin blood vampire creates another vampire. When we pass on the disease through feeding, I did not know. He explained that the vampirism becomes even more diluted, even weaker. Each generation of diseased vampires is more unstable than the last, more prone to feral behavior, more controlled by the hunger. Eventually, after enough generations of spreading through disease, vampirism would break down completely. The infected would just die, or they would become something worse, something not quite vampire and not quite human. Blood fiends, he called them. Mindless creatures driven only by hunger, no intelligence, no self-awareness, just killing machines. That is our future if we spread the disease too far. That is what we become. And the purebloods do not care because they are not affected. Their bloodline stays pure, controlled. They can create more vampire lords through ritual, can maintain their power indefinitely. They do not need us. We are just an unfortunate side effect of Molag Bal's curse spreading through the mortal population. I wish I could say I was angry about it, about the injustice of it all, but mostly I am just tired. Tired of fighting the hunger, tired of hiding, tired of existing in this half-state between human and monster. There are moments, though, brief moments where I almost feel human again. When I am watching families through windows and I remember what it was like to be part of something, to belong somewhere, to have someone care if I lived or died. Or when I am hunting in the forest and I see the sunrise through the trees. I have to hide before the light touches me, but for a moment, I can appreciate the beauty of it. The way the light turns, the snow pink and gold. Hilda loved sunrises. She would wake up early just to watch them. I always thought it was silly. Now I would give anything to stand next to her and watch the sun come up without it hurting. But those moments are getting rarer. The vampire part of me is taking over. I spent less time thinking about Hilda now, and more time thinking about blood. Less time remembering what I lost, and more time planning my next feeding. I can feel myself changing, becoming the thing Harkon said I would become. A slave to the hunger, an animal. I met a vampire hunter last week. Pure coincidence. I was sheltering in a cave during the day, and he was searching it for a vampire den. When he found me, he did not attack immediately. He just stood there, looking at me with this mixture of pity and determination. He asked me how long I had been turned. I told him 3 months. He nodded like that explained something, said 3 months was about when most thin bloods lose hope, when they stop trying to be human and start accepting what they are. He told me his name was Isran, said he ran an organization called the Dawn Guard. They hunted vampires, especially after the Volkihar clan started getting bold, started attacking cities, started trying to fulfill some prophecy about blotting out the sun. I asked him why he did it, why he devoted his life to killing creatures like me. He said because vampires are monsters, all of them, pure blood or thin blood. It did not matter. We were predators, parasites. We killed people. We destroyed families. We spread suffering wherever we went. He was right, of course, but I still asked him if he thought there was any hope for vampires who fought the hunger, who only fed on criminals, who tried to minimize the harm they caused. He said no. Said a vampire, trying to be good, was still a vampire, still a killer. The intent did not matter, only the body count, and every vampire, no matter how hard they tried to be moral, eventually racked up a body count. He gave me a choice. I could let him kill me cleanly, quickly, or I could run, and he would hunt me down later, and it would be messier, more painful. I chose to run, not because I thought I deserved to live, but because the vampire instinct overrode everything else. The survival instinct. I ran and I escaped into the tunnels deeper in the cave where he could not follow in his heavy armor. But his words stayed with me. Every vampire is a killer. The body count is what matters, and my body count is 18 now if you include Hildy. 18 people dead because I exist, because I am too much of a coward to end it. Sometimes I think about the vampire who infected me, the one in Shriekwind Bastion. I wonder if she remembers me, if she knows what she did, if she cares that she destroyed my life. Probably not. I was just another victim, another source of food. She likely infected dozens of people over the years, created dozens of thin bloods like me, left a trail of destroyed lives in her wake, and now I am doing the same thing. Oh, I have not deliberately infected anyone, but every time I feed, there is a chance, a 10% chance that my victim will contract Sanguinare Vampiris. Most of them probably cure it before it progresses, but what if one of them does not? What if one of them becomes a vampire? Then I am responsible. I created another monster, destroyed another life. The mathematics of it are staggering. If every thin blood creates even one more vampire, the numbers compound quickly. We spread like a plague, like a disease, which is exactly what we are. We are Molag Bal's curse made manifest, his revenge against Arche. We are the physical embodiment of domination and death. Molag Bal spread vampirism deliberately. She wanted to spite Molag Bal and Arche both. She created a cult of vampires who shared her hatred, who spread the curse as an act of revenge against the gods who failed her. Every vampire in Tamriel is her descendant, her child, her act of eternal vengeance. We are all children of rape and rage, all pieces of a curse that has spread across thousands of years, and we cannot stop it. Even if every vampire in the world decided to stop feeding, to let themselves die, there would still be more, because Molag Bal can still create more pure bloods through ritual, because the disease still exists in the world, dormant, waiting for the next victim. I have stopped trying to find meaning in this, stopped trying to justify my existence. I am a monster. I know this. I accept this. The only question now is what kind of monster I want to be. Do I give in completely? Become like Movarth and the other ferals? Stop caring about the body count and just exist as a predator? Or do I keep fighting? Keep trying to minimize the harm, even though I know I will eventually fail? Most days, I lean toward fighting. Not because I think I can win, but because giving up feels like letting Hildy down. Like admitting her death meant nothing. If I can save even one person by feeding on bandits instead of innocents, maybe that means something. Maybe that is enough. But other days, I am not so sure. Other days, the hunger is so strong that morality seems like a joke, a human concept that no longer applies to me. On those days, I understand why vampires become what they become, why they stop seeing people as people and start seeing them as food. The isolation is wearing on me. I have not had a conversation with anyone in weeks, have not touched another person except to feed on them. I exist in the spaces between civilization, in the dark places where people do not go. I am becoming a ghost, a shadow, something that watches from the edges but never participates. If this story has kept you listening this far and you want more of these dark confessions from Skyrim, hit that subscribe button. It tells me someone out there is still paying attention to warnings like these. I wonder what Hilda would think if she could see me now. Would she understand? Would she forgive me? Or would she be horrified? Would she wish I had died in that cave instead of becoming this? I think she would be disappointed, not angry, just sad. She always believed people could be better than their worst impulses, could choose goodness even when it was hard. And here I am, failing at that every single day. The worst part is knowing I will continue to fail, that this is not a story with redemption at the end. I am not going to find a cure and become human again. I am not going to defeat the hunger and become some kind of noble vampire who only feeds on evil people. That is not how this works. This is a story about losing, about failing, about becoming the thing you fear most and not being able to stop it. And I am telling you this so you understand, so you do not make the same mistakes, so you know what getting infected really means. Because the stories do not tell you this part. They do not tell you about the hunger that never stops, about watching yourself lose your humanity piece by piece, about existing in a state of constant warfare between what you were and what you are becoming. They especially do not tell you what happens when you realize you are losing that war, when you can feel the human part of yourself getting smaller, quieter, less relevant, when you start to understand that eventually there will be nothing left but hunger and darkness. That is where I am now. I can feel it happening. Every day, I spend a little less time remembering Hilda and a little more time thinking about blood. Every day, the guilt gets a little more distant, a little easier to ignore. Every day, I become more vampire and less human. And the terrifying thing is that part of me is relieved. Part of me wants to stop fighting, wants to let go of the guilt and the pain and just exist as a predator. Because being a monster is easier than trying to be human while living in a monster's body. But I am not there yet. Not quite. There is still enough of me left to be horrified by what I am becoming. Still enough left to write this confession, to warn you, to make sure at least someone knows the truth. Let me tell you about last night. Let me tell you what finally convinced me to put these words down before I lose the ability to care. I was hunting near Whiterun, not in the city itself, but in the farms surrounding it. I had been at stage 3 for 2 days, hungry, desperate. The pain was becoming unbearable. Every heartbeat I heard felt like torture. Every breath of wind carried the scent of blood to my heightened senses. I found a farmhouse, small, isolated, a single candle burning in the window. Through that window, I could see a family eating dinner. A man, a woman, 2 children, Nord family. The children were young, maybe 5 and 7 years old. They were laughing about something. The mother was serving stew. The father was telling a story that made the children giggle. I watched them for hours, hidden in the shadows, just watching this perfect tableau of human life, of normalcy, of everything I had lost, and I hated them for it. I hated them for having what I could never have again. I hated their warmth and their laughter, and their ability to sit in lamplight without pain. I hated that they were human, and I was not. The hatred mixed with hunger until I could not tell them apart, until the family inside stopped being people and started being targets, food sources, relief from the agony building in my skull. I waited until they went to bed, waited until the house was dark and quiet. Then I approached. The door was not locked. Why would it be? They were Nords on their own farmland. They felt safe. I went inside. The vampire part of me moved silently, perfectly. I could see everything in the darkness, could hear their heartbeats from different rooms, the parents in one bedroom, the children in another. I stood in their hallway for 10 minutes, just stood there, fighting with myself. The human part screaming that these were innocents, children. The vampire part screaming that I needed to feed, that the hunger had to stop, that nothing else mattered. I almost did it. I almost went into that children's room and fed. I was moving toward the door. My hand was on the handle. I could hear their small hearts beating, could smell their blood through the wooden door. But then I thought of Hilda, thought of waking up with her blood in my mouth, thought of the horror and the guilt. And I realized if I did this, if I fed on children, there would be nothing left of me worth saving. I would be exactly what Isran said I was, a monster, nothing more. So I ran, left the house, left the farm, ran into the wilderness, and fed on a pack of wolves instead. It did not satisfy the hunger, animal blood never does, but it took the edge off, gave me enough clarity to think, to write this. That family will never know how close they came to being slaughtered, how close those children came to dying in their beds. They will wake up this morning and eat breakfast and go about their lives completely unaware that a monster stood outside their door, deciding whether to kill them. That is what I am. That is what all vampires are. We are the things that stand outside doors in the darkness. We are the things parents warn their children about. We are the nightmare made real. And the worst part is, I will be back in that situation again. Maybe in a week, maybe in a month. Eventually, the hunger will overcome my willpower again, and I will find myself outside another house, watching another family, making the same choice. And one of these times, I might make the wrong choice. That is why I am writing this now. While I still have the capacity to care, while there is still enough humanity left to be horrified by what I almost did, you need to understand something about vampire lore, about why we exist, about what we represent. Molag Bal created vampirism as an insult to Arche, the god of life and death, of the natural cycle. Molag Bal hated that Arche had power over mortal souls, hated that the cycle of life and death was something he could not fully control, so he created undeath, created vampires, creatures that existed outside Arche's cycle, that mocked everything Arche represented. When Molag Bal violated Lamai Beolfag, when he left her to die and then watched her rise as the first vampire, he was making a statement. He was proving that he could corrupt life itself, that he could turn death into something else, something wrong, something that served him instead of Arche. Every vampire since then has been part of that same statement. We are living proof that Molag Bal can corrupt anything, can dominate anything, can twist the natural order into something serving his sphere of influence. Lamai understood this. That is why she embraced it, why she spread vampirism deliberately. She was not just taking revenge on Molag Bal and Arche. She was accepting her role as corruption incarnate, as the living embodiment of violation and domination, and we are her children, all of us. Every vampire in Tamriel carries that same corruption, that same violation. We are not just predators, we are theological weapons. We are Molag Bal's middle finger to creation itself. The thin bloods, the diseased vampires like me, we are the degraded version of that weapon. We are what happens when Molag Bal's curse spreads beyond his control. We are accidents, mistakes, but we still carry the same fundamental corruption. We are still outside Arche's cycle, still undead, still wrong. Some vampires try to justify what they are, try to create philosophies or codes of conduct, try to pretend they can be ethical parasites, but it is all self-deception. We are defined by what we take, by what we destroy. There is no vampire who is not killed, no vampire who has not spread suffering. It is what we are. The Volkihar court at least is honest about it. They do not pretend to be anything other than monsters. They keep cattle. They feed openly. They acknowledge that they exist at the expense of human life, and they simply do not care. There is a kind of brutal honesty in that, a clarity. Thin bloods like me, we lie to ourselves. We say we only feed on criminals. We say we minimize the harm. We say we are different from the feral ones, but we are not. We just have not been vampires long enough to stop caring. Give it a few decades, a few centuries, Eventually, every vampire becomes what the Volkihar court is. Eventually, the justifications stop, and we just accept what we are. I have been a vampire for 3 months, and I am already starting to not care. Already starting to see humans as food rather than people. Imagine what I will be like in a year, in 10 years, in 100 years if I survive that long. That is the real horror of vampirism. Not the feeding, not the sunlight weakness, not even the loss of humanity. The real horror is the slow erosion of morality, the gradual acceptance of monstrosity, the way you stop seeing anything wrong with what you do because you have been doing it for so long. Old vampires are the most dangerous not because they are more powerful, though they are, but because they have completely internalized their predator nature. They have stopped thinking of themselves as corrupted humans and started thinking of themselves as a superior species, as apex predators who have every right to feed on the lesser creatures below them. Harkon is thousands of years old. He does not see humans as people anymore. He sees them as resources, as tools, as cattle to be managed and consumed, and he is not even cruel about it. He is simply practical. Why would a farmer care about the feelings of his livestock? Why would a vampire care about the feelings of humans? That is where I am headed. That is what I will become if I continue to exist, and I do not know how to stop it except through death, my death. I have thought about it constantly these past weeks, thought about walking into the sunrise, thought about picking a fight with the Dawn Guard, thought about going back to Castle Volkihar and insulting Harkon until he kills me out of irritation. But every time I get close to doing it, the vampire instinct takes over, the survival drive. It overrides everything else, makes me hide, makes me run, makes me choose continued existence over noble suicide. That is another curse Molag Bal built into vampirism. We want to survive. We need to survive, even when we know we should not. Even when we know the world would be better without us. The vampirism itself compels us to keep existing, to keep feeding, to keep spreading the curse. It is dominance all the way down. Molag Bal dominates mortals by creating vampires. Vampires dominate humans by feeding on them. And the vampirism itself dominates the vampire by forcing them to continue the cycle. No one in this system is free. We are all slaves to the curse. I wonder sometimes if Molag Bal planned it this way. If he designed vampirism to be inescapable, to trap everyone it touches in a cycle of domination and suffering, or if he just unleashed it and then stopped caring. Maybe for a Daedric prince, vampirism is just one of many experiments, one of many ways to torment mortals. Maybe he does not even think about us anymore, but we are still here, still spreading, still destroying lives. The curse continues with or without his attention. I have stopped looking for solutions, stopped hoping for redemption or cure or some way to make this right. There is no making this right. Hilda is dead. 17 other people are dead. That family near Whiterun came within seconds of joining them. The body count will only grow. The best I can hope for is to minimize it, to stretch out the time between feedings as long as possible, to hunt bandits and criminals when I can, to never, ever let myself get close to innocence when the hunger is strong. But that is not redemption. That is just damage control. It does not absolve me of anything. It does not make me less of a monster. It just makes me a slightly more discriminating monster. And even that will fail eventually. I know this. I have seen it happen to other vampires. Movarth started with noble intentions too. He only fed on criminals, only killed those who deserved it. Look at him now, living in a cave surrounded by thralls, feeding on whoever he catches, barely even human anymore. That is my future. That is every thin blood's future. We all end up feral or dead. There is no third option. So why am I writing this? Why bother warning you if there is no hope? Why confess if there is no redemption? Because you deserve to know. Because the stories lie. Because people think vampirism is power or immortality or some kind of dark gift. They do not understand what it actually is, what it actually costs. If I can stop even one person from seeking out vampirism deliberately, this will be worth it. If I can convince even one infected person to cure themselves immediately. This will be worth it. If I can make people understand what we actually are, what we actually do, then maybe Hilda's death will mean something beyond just being another victim of a monster's hunger. I do not expect forgiveness. I do not deserve it. I murdered my wife. I have murdered 17 other people. I am a monster who occasionally remembers being human. That is all I am. That is all I will ever be for however long I continue to exist. But you can be different. You can stay human. You can avoid the curse. You can kill vampires when you find them, instead of pitying them or trying to help them. Because we cannot be helped. We can only be stopped. When you see red eyes in the darkness, do not hesitate. When you hear about someone with pale skin and strange habits who only comes out at night, do not investigate out of curiosity. When you contract Sanguinare Vampiris, do not wait to see what happened. Go to a shrine immediately. Get cured. Do not become what I am. I have one more confession to make before I end this. One more truth you need to know. I am not going to kill myself. I should. I know I should, but I am not going to do it. The vampire part of me is too strong. The survival instinct is too powerful. I am going to continue existing, continue feeding, continue killing, because that is what vampires do. We persist, we endure, we spread the curse. I tell myself I will only feed on criminals, that I will be careful, that I will minimize the harm. But we both know that is a lie. Eventually I will slip. Eventually I will feed on an innocent. Maybe it will be an accident. Maybe the hunger will override my judgment. Maybe I will just stop caring. And when that happens, I will become everything I fear, everything I hate. I will be exactly what Harkin said I was. A diseased animal, a thin-blooded failure, a monster wearing a human face. So this is not a redemption story. This is not a tale of overcoming darkness or finding hope in despair. This is a warning. This is a monster telling you what monsters do, what they think, how they justify themselves, and why you should never trust them, never pity them, never believe them when they say they are different. Because we are not different. We are all the same. We are all children of Molag Bal. We are all corrupted by Molag Bal's curse. We are all predators pretending to be something else. If you see me on the road, kill me. Do not talk to me. Do not listen to my excuses or my justifications. Just kill me. Do the world a favor. Do me a favor, because I cannot do it myself. If you find yourself in a vampire lair, do not show mercy to the vampires you find there. They are not victims. They are not cursed innocents worthy of salvation. They are killers, every single one. The body counts vary, but they all have body counts. Put them down like the rabid animals they are. And if you ever wake up with blood in your mouth and your loved one cold beside you, do not do what I did. Do not run. Do not try to live with it. End it immediately. Walk into the sun. Pick a fight you cannot win. Do whatever it takes, because the guilt will never lessen. The hunger will never stop, and you will never be human again, no matter how hard you pretend. That is the truth about vampirism in Skyrim. That is what really happens when you become a vampire. Not power, not immortality, not romance or adventure or dark nobility, just hunger and guilt and slow loss of everything that made you a person. I was a Nord farmer, actually, it does not matter what my name was. That person is dead. He died 3 days after entering Shriekwind Bastion. What is left is just a monster wearing his memories, using his guilt as an excuse to pretend there is still something worth saving, but there is not. I know that now. There is just the hunger, just the darkness, just the slow spiral into becoming what I feared most. And the worst part is, I will keep going anyway. Keep feeding, keep surviving, keep spreading the curse through Skyrim's nights, because that is what vampires do. We persist, even when we should not, even when we know better, even when we hate ourselves for it. We persist because Molag Bal built us to persist, because the curse is stronger than willpower, or morality, or love, or anything else that makes us human. The curse always wins, always. So when you see me watching your house at night, when you catch a glimpse of red eyes in the shadows, when you hear stories about another farmer found drained in his field, remember this. Remember what I told you. Remember that I warned you. And then, kill me, please, before I do to someone else what I did to Hilda, before another family loses someone they love, before another thin blood is created to continue the cycle. This is my confession, my warning, my final act of humanity before the vampire part of me drowns out everything else. Do not become what I am. Do not let this happen to you. The stories lie. The power is not worth the cost. Nothing is worth the cost. I am going to hide this written confession somewhere it might be found, somewhere travelers pass. Maybe someone will read it. Maybe someone will understand. Maybe someone will be saved by my warning. Or maybe no one will read it. Maybe it will rot away with all the other forgotten warnings scattered across Skyrim. Maybe I am just screaming into the void, hoping someone will hear, but I had to try, had to get this out while I still could. While there was still enough of me left to care, the sun will be rising soon. I can feel it. My shelter is ready. Another day of hiding, another day of existing in the spaces between, another day of being a monster who remembers being a man. Hilda, if somehow you can hear this, I am sorry. I am so sorry. I loved you. I love you still, even though I do not think vampires should be capable of love. Your death was my fault, and I will carry that guilt for however long I continue to exist. To everyone else, remember what I told you. Stay away from caves. Cure diseases immediately. Kill vampires on sight. Do not become what I am. This is the truth about vampirism in Skyrim. This is what they do not tell you. This is what happens when the disease takes hold and you wake up 3 days later with your humanity gone and blood on your hands. There is no happy ending here, no redemption, no hope, just hunger and darkness and the slow realization that you have become the monster from the stories, the thing that hunts in the night, the thing that destroys families and spreads suffering. That is what I am. That is what all vampires are, and we are everywhere, watching, waiting, hungry. Be careful, be safe, and if you see red eyes in the darkness, run. Do not be curious. Do not be brave. Just run, because what you see, staring back at you, used to be someone like you, someone with a family and a life and hope for the future. And now it is something else, something that will drain you dry without a second thought, something that has forgotten what it means to be human. This is my warning, my confession, my testament. I am a vampire in Skyrim, and I am watching you.